All right, let's go to MetLife Stadium. Not a thing I expected to say in a college football show, but Notre Dame is on the road. They're 13-point favorites against number 24 Navy. The Middies are ranked. This is the 11 a.m. kick on ABC. Now, I want you to dream with me. I know Notre Dame is favored, and I know the Irish will probably win, but walk with me in a world in which Navy finds a way to win this game. Do the Midshipmen then immediately become the G5 favorite for the playoff with that quality of win and the American Conference title game looming?
I think they'd have to at this point because the only one that would have a case against that is Boise State. And I think Boise State would certainly have comparable out of conference wins, but Navy would have the trump card of actually winning their big game. I know we're not going to hold the Oregon game against Boise State. They played tough. It's the number one team in the country, obviously, but Navy won the game that was played on the field. If they can find a way to win, they're certainly the G5 playoff favorite.
Yeah, I'm with Trey. I think that's a no-brainer. I think the quality win. I do think that in this new era of expanded playoff, I think you're going to see the wins matter more than like comparing the losses, because I think once you start to, kind of dice it up in that 7 to 12 range, I think you have to start talking about, well, who did this team beat? Did this team prove they can beat anybody good? And if Navy can find a way to beat Notre Dame, then that's clearly best win out of any of the G5 teams right now, outside of, I guess, NIU, who's not technically competing for it. So
I know they've stumbled a couple of times. I think I know Toledo beat them last week, so maybe not even alive in the MAC race. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to go with Navy here, plus the 13. Listen, Notre Dame does probably win this, but Navy has the fifth best offense in points per drive, 3.5. That is, like I said, fifth best. Now, Notre Dame is the fourth best defense in preventing points per drive. They're giving up 0.7 of a point statistically per drive. It's one of the most efficient offenses against one of the most efficient defenses. Now, we've also talked about Riley Leonard learning how to throw the forward pass, and Notre Dame's offense has looked a lot more dynamic since Leonard started moving down the field. Mike Denebrock has finally gotten him comfortable, and I know Notre Dame has had a lot of injuries, but boy, that engine took far longer to turn over than I think anybody really anticipated, given the hype of Leonard coming into this game. Remember when we were hyping up Notre Dame's defensive line? All the way back in week 1, that was the premier matchup. Texas A&M's Maroon Goons, can they withstand this defensive line treasure trove from the Fighting Irish? Well, they've had some injuries. They've shuffled some bodies, but they're still just 90th in tackles for loss, guys. I think there is absolutely a case where the Middies help control the line of scrimmage offensively, and maybe they turn this into a little bit of a bare-knuckled fight, and you see Navy keep it close. I think this could absolutely be a game into the fourth quarter. 13 points feels a little bit rich for me.
I am going to take Navy plus the 13 for the vibes. But I do think there's a world where Notre Dame just absolutely dominates this game, unfortunately. Sure. Navy's defense scares the crap out of me. If you look into their splits, especially against better offenses, I'm looking at the Memphis game that they pulled out late. Thinking about, I'm trying to remember the other big offense they played so far, but it's not great when they play competent offenses, and Notre Dame is teetering towards competence and will certainly have the athletic advantage in this one. Mm-hmm. Taking Navy for the vibes. Certainly think that there's an element to this game. They play every single year, and Navy loves to play this one close when they can, and they have shown that they can play it close in the not too distant past. So yeah, there's a world where Notre Dame runs away with this, but just for the hope, I'll take Navy.
I'm going to go 3 for 3 on this one. And I know you wrote it down, but I'm not saving the graphic on this one either, Trey. I'm going to vibe with y'all on Navy. I think this has a good chance of being a real tight game down the stretch. And it has a lot to do with the fact that I just think that Horvath is an absolute weapon. If you're kind of diving into his stats a little bit here, he's got 1,500 total yards and 20 total touchdowns. Statistically, I think he's the better quarterback coming into this game. I'm not saying he's the better pro prospect or any of that, but statistically, he's got a little bit to compete with. He's thrown a whole bunch less passes in terms of just passing, but he is completing nearly 20 yards per completion, whereas Riley Leonard's only completing about 10. So, look, in terms of being able to stretch the field a little bit, Horvath has shown it a little bit more. Yeah, smaller sample size, and yeah, maybe not quite as good a competition, but he is doing it, and he's shown that he can. I just think that when you put this on the field, I think Navy's they're going to be able to do enough offensively to keep it to where Notre Dame has to continuously, they're going to apply the pressure. Notre Dame is going to have to kind of continue to execute on the offensive side of the football. And I think they're going to fold to that once or twice. I don't think that they'll end up losing the game. I think Notre Dame should win, but I think there'll be a couple drives where the pressure gets to them a little bit. Navy might get a little bit of swell of energy and momentum, can kind of keep that thing close going into the fourth quarter. And if they keep it close, towards the end of the game, I like them to be able to hang on and kind of, tap into some of that grit and find a way to, hopefully stay close and win this one. But if not, lose this one by about, 7 points or something like that.
I think maybe the better way to phrase that quarterback comparison is that Horvath has the better grasp on his offense, right? He's more efficient in his
He's playing better.
And if you haven't watched the Navy offense this year, it is a little different than what you might be used to. If you haven't caught a Navy game yet, they do throw a little bit more. It's still like 10 to 13 times a game max if they're wanting to do what they want, but it is airing it out just a little bit more, and executing has been the strong suit.
Yeah, they've been so opportunistic. Defense, like you said, Trey, maybe not so much. The other thing that we always worry about, even when Army and Navy aren't necessarily good, you can throw Air Force into this basket as well, having to prepare for an option attack without the bye to kind of aid you in the middle of the season, that is no easy task. And Notre Dame is coming off a 31-13 win over Georgia Tech last week. Now, that was the Haynes Kingless Georgia Tech. They bludgeoned Stanford the week before. So it's not like they've been in these strenuous, highly emotional battles, but also preparing for the option on normal week's rest, historically not the easiest thing to do. So a slight other factor going in favor of Navy. All three of us taking Navy plus the points. So congrats on Notre Dame for their 20-point cover.
Gracious, how about that?